So have you ever been driving through Orangevale and happened to see these black spots on the road as you go along the way? Well, those might be, in fact, olives left over from the olive groves here in Orangevale from many years ago. So today we're going to be talking about not only the olives in Orangevale, we'll talk about antiquity, the use of olives, we'll talk about some of the benefits of olive oil, and we'll get into some of the neat facts about California's history with olives. So join us today as we go on the trail in Orangevale. So where are we at today in Orangevale? We are on Walnut Avenue. We're at Common Kettle Farms. We're grateful to Martha and her team for letting us tape here in their little bit of olive orchard that's left over in Orangevale. These are mission olives, and you can see there's plenty of them still left on the tree since they're not being processed at this point. But before we get into all our content, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor for today's video. That would be the Squires Family Foundation. So Brad and his family and the Squires Foundation have been a fantastic supporter of Orangevale and its community with the Orangevale Fair Oaks Community Foundation, the food bank. There's so many things that they've been doing in this community to make it better, and we are so grateful for their support in that. Let's talk about Antiquity with olives and olive oil. Now, they have trees that they've dated. I mean, they're so old that the centers have hollowed out, and so they think they're like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 year old trees. It's amazing how old these trees are that have been giving us olives for that many years, millennia. They think the cultivation started around the Turkish and Syrian border, and they have pottery with olive oil residue in archaeological digs that dates back to 3500 BC. Pretty amazing. This has been a versatile component of the Mediterranean area, the Middle East's diet, and it's just such a versatile product, the olive oil that comes from these particular fruits. Now, Homer called it what did he call it? He called it liquid gold. Hippocrates called it the great healer and used it for medicines extensively. Had a lot of different recipes for folks to use olive oil when they're trying to get healthy or stay healthy. And so there's been lots and lots of different ways olive oil has been used over the years. Let's see, I've talked about medicine, we talk about perfumes, we've got hair gel, we have in sports, athletics, right? You have the Greek Olympics, the original Olympics. The athletes would lather themselves in olive oil, perhaps to make themselves more aerodynamic, I'm not sure, or at least look really, really good. So there was a lot of different ways the product was used, and that continued over the years to where we get to the time of California and the early California settlers. Now let's talk about California. In California, the first settlers we had the Spanish explorers, and we had Spanish friars, padres, coming with the Catholic Church looking to convert the natives of the area of California, which they called Alta California, which was the Upper California, which is the area we're talking about here today. They settled missions in San Diego originally and all along the coast. And one of the first things they did was get olive trees going because, of course, Spain was the hub for olive oil production for the Roman Empire, and that continued into the time of the Spanish explorers and all the people that were going around America and into California. So the friars decided to bring cuttings from olive trees, bring them to their missions that they were settling in California. And so before even the United States of America was a country, olive oil is being produced here in California. That's an amazing thing to think about. So you have these missions, they have olive groves all around them. You've got the olive oil going into the friars and padres for religious purposes, for, of course, their cooking and eating. But at one point, finally, the Mexican government decided to secularize the missions. A lot of them fell into disrepair and were abandoned. And so we're a little worried, like, what happened to all these beautiful olive trees that were at the missions? Well, that's what gets us to the next chapter of California olive history. Now we've got California becoming a state and the gold rush. Huge influx of immigrants coming to, of course, look for gold, but a lot of those immigrants were from the Mediterranean region. And of course, being from Mediterranean regions, you would enjoy your olive oil. So there were a number of immigrants, not only that came for the gold rush, but they immediately started growing olive trees in the gold country, in the foothills. And so you ended up with Italian, Spanish, Greek immigrants starting olive oil production after 1850. By 1880, there was a gentleman named Elwood Cooper who wrote a book called A Treatise on Olive Culture. Now he's out of Santa Barbara, and if he lived here today, he would have his own YouTube channel. He would tell you to like and subscribe, like we're doing now, to his channel. And he would have episodes on how to get cuttings from the old mission variety olive trees, how to root them, how to make your own olive orchard, how to then harvest and then create your own olive oil. So he had a great article book on this that was available in 1880. Now, a little bit later on, just a few years, we've got a lady, an immigrant from Germany, Frieda Emmen. She came to California, did a big investment in California and some properties and investments. She ended up losing most of it in the financial crisis of 1893. But instead of doing a bankruptcy like a lot of people do to get out of underneath that debt, she felt she needed to pay that debt. And one of the few things she had left was an olive tree orchard in Yuba City. And so she was trying to figure out, all right, what can I do with these olives to try to make money back and pay off all my debts? Well, she went, at the time she was living in Oakland with her daughter, and she went to the UC Berkeley professor who gave her a basic brining recipe for olives. And so she worked underneath the porch on her daughter's house with these big casks and these olives, and she's trying all these different recipes and tuning the recipes to figure out what she can do in the way of getting a brined canned olive that would work. Well, she went back to the professor and he was amazed at the flavor of her olives. In fact, she took those back east and she got orders for 10,000 gallons of her brined olives, which is absolutely amazing because she has a very small grove and her order is massive to where she can't even take care of it. So she's running around California buying all the old olive groves she can find. They set up shop in Orangevale, Yuba City, up in that area. But the demand was so high for these canned olives that everybody else in California jumped on the bandwagon. This was a new gold rush in agricultural production for California. Canned olives became a huge hit during the entire 20th century, and that's what kept all these groves in production during those decades that came after that. We are now on Chestnut Avenue at the Tomek Silvergreen Farm in Orangevale. This is the last 10-acre parcel of olive orchard in this entire area. And the family still owns this. Prosper Tomek came here from Croatia in the early 1900s. He purchased this 10-acre parcel. It already had olive trees on it. So they're about 125 years old right now. Now, for most of the 20th century, they had olives and they were participating in the canning and brining process with everyone else. And probably late 20th century, they stopped producing olives. And at this point, the family has been doing, you can get your apricots, you can get mandarins, oranges, persimmons. Those are all still done in season if you happen to be in the area. But the olives, they just rest and haven't been done anything with them for many years. Now, we'd love to see this become a farm, a heritage farm, perhaps ran by a nonprofit someday, so we could save the history of this property as it stands here with the homestead that Prosper Tomek built with this olive orchard. So if you're interested in helping with that, we'd love to hear from you. And that's one of the things we'd enjoy saving as part of the heritage of this great community in Orangevale. As promised, let's talk about choosing a good olive oil and the benefits of using olive oil in your diet. Now, olive oil has polyphenols and lots of great fats that are available to you to ingest. One of the ones that's most important and we've heard about is from a geneticist and a dietitian biologist. He actually found oleocanthal. It's one of the polyphenols, and it acts like ibuprofen. So it's anti-inflammatory, and it's very important for our bodies to have anti-inflammatories. There's lots of great other vitamins and minerals and amazing nutrients in olive oil. So when you're picking a good olive oil, it's important to know what you're looking for. Also, when people talk about the Mediterranean diet, they say, hey, they use olive oil. Well, let me give you a little perspective on that. So the average American uses 1.1 liters per capita of olive oil per year. So I have a bottle here, 500 milliliters. So one person in the US would use 2 of these bottles per year. Sounds kind of healthy. But when you look at the Greek diet, right, the Greeks have the highest per capita use of olive oil, and it's about 15 to 20 liters of olive oil per person per year. That ends up being about 5 gallons of olive oil per year per person. So when you're talking about the Mediterranean diet, make sure you're also talking about the scope of the amount of olive oil that you're using in your diet. Now, when you pick out olive oils, you want something as close to you as possible. You want it fresh. You want a harvest date on the bottle because you want it to be a year or less old, because it's not a wine, right? It doesn't age well. It needs to be used within the first year for the best possible nutrients from it. You want it to be extra virgin olive oil. If you get it from California, they have the strictest rules on what can be called an extra virgin olive oil. So California olive oil's the best. Places around here in California, if you happen to be in California, you can go to a grove in California. This is where most of the olive oil is made in the United States. Otherwise, find a local source, talk to the miller, go buy it directly from the orchard. Support local, single source. That's going to be the best way to get your benefits from olive oil. So now you know a little bit more about the roots of olive trees in Orangevale, the benefits of olive oil in your diet, and I hope you get to use some of that in your everyday life. And with that, it's Mark with On the Trail in Orangevale. If you like this video, a like and subscribe is great. What's even better, if you want to really support us, the mission of this organization, and keeping these episodes coming out, is to click down below, join us, become a member, and support the organization. We're all volunteer. We're doing this because we love history, we love the community. You don't actually have to live in Orangevale to be part of this, right? All this history interweaves. So check it out, join us. We'd love to see you support what we're doing here.